Welcome back to Straight Facts on Friday. I'm joined by Staffy. I've got Lawless in the house. Loads to preview today. A big game for Chelsea tonight. Must win. They have to turn around this poor form in pursuit of Champions League football. We are going to be looking at a big weekend really for Man United, but a lot of pressure from the media today, questioning him about United winning titles, selling Mainu and Garnacho. Also, stuff around him having favourites in the dressing room as well. So a lot of pressure on him and the attacks really ramping up in the media. Plus, we're talking Arsenal. Will they fight back this weekend after a big boost they've just had in regards to injuries today? Or could they collapse from this point for the remainder of the season? We're going to get the boys' opinion on that. Any talking points you want us to bring up, just put it into the live chat. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know if there's any subjects that you want us to discuss, send them in. Of course, we'll prioritize our member chats and our super chats just because you keep the terrace going and you're all brilliant and amazing. But gentlemen, how are you both? You well?
Good,
yeah.
good.
Good. Football's back for me. Obviously, we're at the cup, so I've had a week off of football, so I'm looking forward to getting back into it.
No Don today. You're gonna miss him.
Oh yeah, mate. I'm missing him already. It's such a shame he's not here.
Thing is, like Don's giving it the big one. Oh, I'm in Paris. I'm taking the girl away. We just know as soon as Chelsea have bad results, Don just ducks, bro. He ducks from the terrace. He doesn't like to show his face. Not most. We've got Chelsea fans that are regged, but yeah, Don. Whenever Chelsea lose, he becomes the invisible man. 100%. I don't even think he's got a girlfriend. I think he's lying. just to avoid it. Big up Don and enjoy Paris, mate. Enjoy Paris. But yeah, by the way, happy Valentine's Day, gentlemen. I hope you have a nice evening tonight, whatever it is that you're doing. I hope it's special. And viewers, to those that have partners, have a fun time.
I hope everyone has a partner that don't rate Valentine's Day as much as you. I hate Valentine's. I just think it's a point.
I know, right? It's such an overrated holiday when you really think
about
it. Like, let me tell you this, because people used to always tell me, "Oh, why do you hate it so much?" If you're single or you're in a relationship, it's a lose-lose situation, and I'll tell you why. If you're in a relationship, you're spending money, and you're like, you know what? I would have liked to keep this money, but I had to buy flowers. I had to take her out for dinner. It is what it is. If you're single, you feel left out. Everyone's out there grabbing dinner, doing this, doing that, and you're at home doing nothing. So it's a lose-lose situation. Honestly, just cancel the holiday. Cancel.
Yeah. Do you know what? I don't necessarily, again, unless you're proposing or doing something very special, I don't think you have to go mad or big. I think you can do small things, but I quite enjoy it. Like me and the kids enjoy it actually. So like my kids made me, my kids, they said, we're going to make you a card, daddy. What do you want on it? And I said, I just want to see what they do. I said, well, draw me a card with me and the person I love the most. So they made me a card and it was me and my dog. me and my dog, and I was like, "Oh, my kids know me." So yeah, I liked it for that. And I bought my daughter a little rose today. And that one thing I do use it for is for like treating my daughter and letting her know how like a man should treat her. In terms of like, if you're growing up and you're with a guy and he don't buy you flowers, if he doesn't romance you or whatever, I'm like, nah, then he's got to go. So, but yeah, it's a little bit of fun. Don't do the young lads. Don't do the big one. Don't do the big one and spend money you ain't got. Like, honestly, because if that's the kind of person that you're with, my advice is leave anyway. Do you know what I mean? If you ain't got the money, you should be forcing to spend it. Don't broke yourselves, boys. Like, trust me. And ladies, most of you I know, the good ones are just happy with the attention they need. So that's a good attention. So anyway, not enough of Dr. Love. Single life is sweet. Yeah, listen, Tony, you and Madame Palm and her 5 daughters will have a good time tonight. Do you know what I'm saying? So you like it. I wanted to start with a bit of Man United today, because we have a big game this weekend that is big in terms of the names of the club. But if you look at the table, it's like a qualifier for the relegation zone, if we're being honest, right? That's how in terms of points. But a lot's been said off the back of the press conference today from Amorim and the media in the build up to the game. A lot of pressure is being placed upon Amorim, and I want to sort of show some of these things that have been said here. So, some big stories broke this morning that Ruben Amorim has maintained a professional distance from the Man United players. 3 months into his role as head coach, dressing room sources say Amorim is not as close with most of the players as his predecessor, Eric Ten Hag. And it also goes on to say players have noticed that Amorim is naturally closest with compatriots Bruno and Delot, but with another squad upheaval planned this summer, the Portuguese is not getting attached to the majority of his squad. And a lot of people are jumping on this and talking about, oh my God, there's favourites. That's going to create a problematic dressing room. He's not close enough to these players. He's not a good man manager. What do you make of these kind of headlines, Staffy, that they're putting out about Ruben Amorim?
It was just a slow news week. Something has to be written, something has to be published, and something needs to be out there so people can speak and everyone gets to do their job. And that's how I just read into this. If there was like any injury news, any inside news about future transfers and stuff like that, that would be the focus of the media. But they didn't really have much to talk about, and that's why I feel like they're saying this. If he naturally gravitated to Delot and Bruno, I would love to see how anyone who criticizes that, when they go to a foreign country and they run into people that have the same nationality as them. Let's say I run into Egyptians in just a random city here in the US. I'm naturally just going to speak to them, and there's going to be a different connection than everyone else. So I'd love to know how people would do if they went to a different country and there's only two co-workers that you can kind of relate to because they come from the same country as you. Other than that, I don't see a problem or any favoritism in that news. Because let's just be honest, Ten Hag used to play these two all the time, and he wasn't even Portuguese. So what are we even doing here? People used to accuse Ten Hag of favoritism with Bruno, and they're not the same nationality. It's just like when as I said, when there's nothing to talk about, and obviously the team is losing, so it's easier to criticize the manager, and when stuff like that happens, that's just the news they're gonna put out. I'll be honest. Other than that, I mean, listen, him having not such a close relationship with his players and it being more on the professional side, I see nothing wrong with that. Because if he had a personal relationship with everyone like Ten Hag did, then why did Ten Hag get sacked? Why did everyone say that Ten Hag was let down by these players? Why did everyone say that these players who had a close relationship with Ten Hag, but apparently not with Amorim, why did everyone say they threw Ten Hag under the bus? I remember Ole was called a PE teacher because he had a close relationship with all the players that he had, and we weren't winning anything. So people want to flip-flop on the day, and that's fine. I got used to it. Media, as I said, I think it was last Friday where I had this rant. I said YouTube is tapped, and I said journalists are tapped, and I'm going to stick to that. So nothing new. It's just like another day where people just try to find something to criticize the manager for.
Yeah, I mean it's very interesting, this idea of he doesn't want to get close to the players because he might be selling a load of them. It sounds like a farmer not getting close to his livestock because he knows he's gonna kill him. Don't give him names or anything like that. Yeah,
that's a good analogy. I'll be honest. One of the best things you've ever said.
That's what it sounds like. Which I get it. I hear it. Like this squad needs a massive upheaval, but. Look, if the favoritism thing is true, and I'm not saying it definitely is, but if like in training and things, people are seeing that maybe you spend a little bit more time giving extra attention to the Portuguese players, thing like that's not going to go down well with the rest of the squad. Even though it may be innocent, that appearance of favoritism can creep in and cause all sorts of problems. So it's just going to be about him trying to get the best out of this season. Now, does he need to distance himself from the team if he's going to sell him? I don't necessarily think he does. Like, you can sit there and coach this player to the best of possible and say, well, look, mate, like we're going in a different direction. See you later. Like you said, look, at the end of the day, there's a big thing I think made up of the media. The media hates Man United. The media hates Arsenal. The media doesn't hate anyone. What the media wants is stories. And they'll take grains of truth. They're probably grains of something that they've probably got from someone inside that they've sort of grown into a bigger thing than maybe it is a comment or something. We need to make a story out of this. So, like you said, Staffy, maybe it is a slow news week and they're going to get anything they can. And Man United is a good farm for that. But we know there's problems in that squad. We know it. And it needs major surgery. So that is not news. So at the end of the day, Amorim, he needs to get his time. He needs to get his chance to get his players in. Obviously, I know you've got a director of football, but he needs to be backed and to really see what he does. He's going to be scrutinized because he's the Man United manager. But at the end of the day, next season is what's going to be big for him.
Yeah,
I mean, as I said, Lawless, I agree with you. But as I said, what helps all this is that the team is not winning, and it's always easier to criticize a team that's winning than a team that's not winning. Because if his approach is being looked at negative right now, if we were winning and this is the same approach, people are gonna praise him, gonna say, "Oh, look," because he's not too close to his players like Ten Hag was. Which, by the way, I find stupid because people used to say that the players couldn't really relate to Ten Hag and he was like a bit of an awkward personality. But now they're trying to twist it and say, oh, actually, he had a closer relationship to his players than Amorim, which is weird to me. But let's just go by that narrative that they created. If he was winning, they would have praised him. It would have been like, oh, look, because he's more professional rather than just having personal relationship with his players and babying them and da-da-da-da-da. Look at him, he's winning. At the end of the day, the team is not performing. The players are not good enough. And yes, there's things to criticize the manager for tactically, but we know that these players, most of them, need to be moved on anyways. I mean, they spoke today, again, about the idea that they want to compete for the league in 2028. And that's what Amorim kind of reminded him of today. He said, yes, our goal is to compete for the league, but for now, we just need to win. So at the end of the day, for us to say we want to win the league eventually, and we all acknowledge that this team is not good enough, these players, whether it's favoritism or not, or whether they like them or not, most of these players won't be here. And like you said, it's like a farmer with the stock. He knows at the end of the day, this chicken that he loves is not going to be here tomorrow, or this sheep or this lamb that he has probably going to not be here in a week or two. So there's no point of sitting here and just trying to baby everyone. Who cares? He's just there to win football games, bro. And that's what he wants to do. And that's what he talks about.
Yeah. No, listen, I agree. And I think one thing I would call out is they're talking, first of all, he's doing things differently to Ten Hag, a manager that we all universally agree failed. So the fact he's doing something different to the previous two managers that failed, for me, is an instant positive just on the outside looking in. But the same newspaper wrote an article about Ten Hag, speaking about early in his second season, players complained that if your face doesn't fit, you get sacrificed. The dressing room consensus was that Ten Hag had favourites and da-da-da-da-da-da. The problem is the same newspaper, the Manchester Evening News and Samuel Luckhurst, have written the same stories about previous managers, and United fans fall for the brain-dead Man United fans fall for the catnip every single time. You know, the manager in and the manager out morons, that's their debate. And it doesn't matter the manager, the signings, the league position. The moronic manager in, manager out debate never ends. And the media know, oh, there's a little fire over there at the minute. What they've done is they've just provided loads of petrol, loads of matches, and gone, there you go, you morons, do your worst and create a fire. And that's it at the end of the day. I don't see a problem with it. The favoritism thing, every manager's going to have favorites. The irony is, if they're successful and have favorites, no one cares. If they're unsuccessful and have favorites, it's because they had favorites. Now, having favorites isn't the issue. Of course he has favorites. He definitely favors playing Ahmad. He definitely favors playing Ahmad over multiple other players. He definitely favors the idea of playing Lenny Yoro in his back line. You can see it. He definitely favors having Ugarte in the team over Casemiro. Now, that's a favorite choice of his, and most of us agree with that in the context of the current squad, as an example. So him having favorites is crazy. And I saw Goldbridge say this earlier, so I won't plagiarize, but I will repeat what he said. I don't imagine a world where he's walking out to the training ground, arm around Delo, arm around Bruno, going, hello, my little Portuguese brothers. And Maguire says, morning, boss. And they ignore him and go, hello. I just don't see that being the situation. I think it's a load of bullshit. And because Man United are going through a very toxic time right now, on and off the pitch, financially, in the boardroom, cutbacks, this is where Man United fans have got, even if you have an agenda against Amorim, my message is, if you really love the club, refrain from piling on. Just reject this notion that comes out. We saw another lie today pushed. So in his talk about wanting to win the title in 2028 or compete for it, which we'll get onto, and we'll get onto that conversation in a moment. He said, as things currently stand, we have to sell to buy. So the headline then put out by the Telegraph read like this. And the problem is there's a lot of, I know this, I used to stream with some. There's a lot of headline readers out there. The headline says, Man United's sell-first approach means Mainu and Garnacho may go, admits Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim did not specify any player. He just said we need to sell before we buy. He didn't say the rumors about Maino and Garnacho are true because I have to sell before I buy, so they may go. But the headline says, so what you then, when you read the comments on the headline from certain United fans, I can't believe my manager wants to sell these players first. He didn't say that. But it's said that the media are misleading you with that headline. They're misleading you with that headline because you know what it is? I don't blame the media. I don't. I blame the mugs who don't click on the article and fucking read it. Because the first line in the article, I'm going to click on it here, right? The first line of the article says, head coach refused to name refused to name any players. It's the first line. So if you just took the time and engaged your brain, you wouldn't even be angry enough to spread the fire. So for me, it's I don't even blame the media. Like you've said, the media do what they do. Fair play to them. Fair play to them. The only people they're catching out are toaster people that I wouldn't trust using a toaster. Because if you don't have the wherewithal, the brain power to read the article or to, I watch loads of YouTubers. It could be over the years. I've watched the variety of football YouTubers. For me, has gone from watching The Athletic talk about football, Ligana talk about football. I've watched real funny stuff that Expressions does as an example. And the titles and the thumbnails are always an attraction. But I listen to the content. I listen to what their full opinion is because I understand that the headline is there to attract people. As simple as that. How many channels this week have done emergency meetings? So, okay, what's the emergency? The title will give you half an idea. I watched a few Spurs ones this week. I clicked on them. I learned a bit about Tottenham and things I didn't know. But I went and enjoyed them. I'm not just gonna take what put out there at face value without delving into it first. Why? How can I have an opinion on what those Tottenham fans have said if I haven't fucking listened to what they've said? Moronic. Only stupid morons do that, and that's what I'm like. Man United fans, why do we have to do that? Why do we have to do that bottom feeder bullshit as well? Do you know what I'm saying?
It happens all the time. The amount of videos I've had where someone's clicked on the video and commented on the title and clearly not watched the video. And just got all.
I did it yesterday. I literally said I lied about Liverpool, and I did. But I explained why I lied because some Liverpool fans gaslit me at the beginning of my match reaction and said that Mo Salah was fouled in the build up to the goal. And I was going, I didn't see it. And I was going, I'm sorry. I must have had my head down for a second doing the thumbnail. I missed it. Oh my God, I'm sorry. They sent me a clip of the foul, and I was like, oh my God, it happened. Turned out it was 7 minutes before the fucking goal. So yes, I lied. But I lied because I believe some of my Liverpool viewers that there was a foul in the build-up to the goal. But some people comment again, I knew you were always going to lie about my club. And then I said, I said, look, get 40 seconds in. Oh, shit, bro. I didn't realize it was because of that. So how have you commented before watching? It's mad to me. It's mad. It's honestly crazy to me. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, look, as I say, it's been a mad day for him. What about these claims, Staffy, challenging for the league in 2028? Do you think this is outlandish? Or do you think it's doable for Manchester United?
I don't know if it's doable or not because it means that I have to see how good our recruitment is in the future, and that's not something I could see. And I don't have a good sample size of what Ineos have done over the last They've technically been here for a year now, so they've had 2 transfer windows. I don't think those transfer windows were amazing. I don't think they were horrible, but I don't have any evidence to suggest that. I like the approach. I like that they're trying to use data in everything. Listen, I hear a lot of people saying like they like to slander things that suggest numbers and projections and data. I'll be honest with you, and I'm not even that old. I've worked in corporations for 7 years. Never in my life did I sit there in my department manager or my director or anyone sat there and tried to give me projections based on how they feel and based on vibes. like everything is data driven. Why are we acting like football is not just like everything else in the world, which uses science and numbers to analyze what's going on most times? You know what I'm saying? Like I've heard this the other day about our data driven approach with our signings, and that the club feels like they're a bit behind everyone else because we haven't been using data and approaches, and people were talking like bad about that. I'm like, well, what did you think our approach should be? Like when people sit there and we're like, guys, what do we have to do to win in the next 3 years? What kind of players we need to recruit? You think people are going to sit there and be like, you know what? There was this one baller. Yeah, I think we'll sign him. He's the reason we're going to win the league. No, everything is data driven, so it's okay. Like it's totally fine. Yeah. Do I think we'll do it in 2028? I don't know. But for people who talk about standards and stuff like that, for them to say we want to win the league, we are just being realistic on when we can win the league, and that's 3 years for now. And the manager comes out and says that our focus is to win the league, but until we get to that, we need to win games now. There you go. If you like standards and all you care about is just a manager says we need to win, there you go. He said what you wanted. So either way you want to look at it, we're talking about winning. So I don't know what's there to criticize about it. You know what I'm saying? I know you didn't ask me that. You were asking me if we could win the league in 2028 or not. I don't know. And I hope to see in the next couple of years where I can make a bigger claim on if we could do it or not. It's just good to hear that. That's all it is. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I completely concur. I like the fact that we have that's the goal, you know. And listen, the one thing I understand why we did it. Part of me wishes that we didn't because people are just so over. They're just absolutely over the idea now of like the buzzwords, projects, etc., etc., etc. However, I like the fact that we have kind of set us all out that this is the time frame that we think we can build a squad to win the league. And interestingly, the project is to be able to win it. You can't ever guarantee. You don't know how good another team's going to be at that point. For instance, nobody would have predicted that City would have been as good as they were over the last 8 years. Nobody would have thought. Nobody was going, oh, yeah, they're going to win trebles now. They're going to do 4 peats. They're going to get 100 points. They become a fantastic team. So when you're planning how good you want to be, I don't necessarily think in the boardroom you're going, right, we are planning to create the greatest English team of all time. You can't plan for that because you don't even know what players are going to be available and how good they're going to be at any one time. Like we go through eras where there's, I would say that era between sort of 2004 and 2012, I would say there was a bigger plethora of greats than there is right now, as an example. So there's more greats around. There's more teams that can be built to the capability of winning Champions Leagues, which there was back then. Nowadays, most of us only really pick 2 or 3 teams that we think are capable of winning the league, right? Would you say that's fair? Champions League. We literally go Real Madrid, maybe Bayern, Liverpool this year can do it. You go back 20 years, we were going United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Madrid, Barca, AC Milan. So just to name 7 off the top of my head, most seasons you would say those guys are all capable, and then there was other teams around them. So I like the plan. I like what we're doing. I like that we've set that standard. That is what we're aiming for. But Man United fans that think it's 2 ways. Anyone who thinks it's going to be quicker than that is crazy. You never know. Again, you might buy 4 or 5 players that end up being better than we expected. So you can speed that up. But it's going to take that amount of time. And I know a lot of people don't think it's realistic. And there are others that think it is. But none of us know what the outcome is going to be. And the only thing that I agree on is the time frame. I don't think we can realistically do it any quicker, especially with the financial restraints that we've got at the moment. We are, because of 11 years of financial malpractice, we are sailing close to the wind. And it isn't as simple as people think. The owners cannot just pump in more money. There's a maximum of £90 million every 3 seasons they can pump in towards signings and players. They've already done that. So there's no more money they can pump in. The only way we can spend more money is increasing revenue, which is difficult to do in the short term, reduce the outgoings, and we're having to do that by horrendous ways that I'm not happy with, but we're doing it, and reducing the debt. But again, the debt just can't be reduced like this. If Ineos pump money in and pay the debts off, it just gets taken off PSR anyway, so it doesn't help us in any capacity, and I'm talking squad building here. But the Glazers are not allowing them to pay the debt off because it would mean surrendering more of the ownership, and the Glazers want to wait until the club's more valuable before they do that, so they can get more money. So that
are they getting interest off of that? Do they get interest payments? Because Gold and Sullivan, they're collecting, because we're indebted to Sullivan and Gold, so we have to pay interest.
No. So no, we're in debt to banks. So the Man United pay between 60 to 100 million pound a year in interest, and have done for 20 years. None of that money goes to the Glazers, but it's paid for. So it's not paid for by the club, but none of it goes to them. So United are in this position where we are going to have to sell before we buy. I'm seeing revisionism online. I'm seeing Man United fans say, "Oh, just bring me back Ed Woodward. He did it better." It's like, you absolute fools. We're in this because of those guys. It's the Stockholm syndrome is coming out in people. The Stockholm syndrome is that we've got out of. Listen, there's lots of things to criticize about Ineos, and there's no guarantees that we're going to get to the end of the rainbow. But we're out of the Fritzl dungeon, and they're trying to fix us. But there's loads of problems. Could have been locked underground for 20 years. But people are like, I'd rather than push through the pain and go through the bad times and see what happens. Some people want to go back to the Fritzl dungeon. I'd just rather go back to my captor and be for some reason, there's almost like a comfortability in that I just can't understand the revisionism. So yeah, look, we can challenge in 2028, 2027, 2028. It's plausible, but most of our transfer windows between now and then are going to have to be good. Whoever we sell, whether it is Garnacho and Mainu, whoever comes in to replace them has to do better. If that starts to happen, the next 2 summers, the next 2 Januaries, if each time that happens, and by and large we get better each window, it's plausible. If we don't and we buy badly every time, then we're going to fail. It's as simple as that.
What's the expectations for next season then? Because obviously it's not going to be.
I want to add something to this before we move on from this topic. I wanted to say also, like, not just about the projections 3 years from now. It's not just on the pitch and in your recruitment. As you mentioned, Terry, a lot of the financials have to go right in the next 3 years versus how pretty much it's been wrong for a decade right now. And this is why as an example, we're in over 300 million in debt in just player installments. That's just player installments. We have to pay over 300 million still in player. Some of these players don't even play for the club anymore. So not only are we expecting to get so many things right on the pitch and in the recruitment, what they're trying to do, and this is what a lot of people don't want to understand, they're trying to make the club a little bit more self-sufficient, which means, like, when people say just pay off the debt, Qatar was going to do that. I'm going to simplify the example. I always like to give small analogies, so for some people to kind of understand it. If I have a restaurant right now and I'm losing like $2,000 every month, I'm not making a profit. I'm just losing $2,000. But I have my bank account is full. I can pay that debt because I have a lot of money saved. Eventually, it will catch up to me. The right approach shouldn't be, yeah, it's okay. I don't need to increase my sales. I don't need to improve my customer review. I don't need to work about my on my market. I don't need to do anything. I'll just keep paying from my bank account for the money that I'm losing, and I'll be okay. No, it's not okay, because eventually you're going to reach a point where your business is not succeeding. It is failing, and just paying from your own pocket won't improve the business. We need to improve the club. This is why they're doing all these cuts, whether we like it or not, whether we think it's harsh or not. I understand where it's coming from. And as you said there, we need to sell better. We need to recruit better. We need to buy better. We need to start making money. We can't be losing money. Our projections can't be going down versus everyone else, where you have good run clubs like City that every year their revenue is increasing based on the number they're giving us, or bigger clubs out there that they're doing better than us. For us to compete with them, we need to have some some type of self-sufficiency as them. So doing all this in 3 years, I will be honest, whether I think it's going to happen or not, it's irrelevant. It's a big task and it's a big job. So all we have to do is just wait and see. We'll criticize and we'll comment along the way. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't speak about Ineos. I'm just saying you have to wait and see.
And this is why sensible, open conversations have got to be there. I saw something Goldbridge said the other day, because he is very anti Ineos, and I respect the fact that he is. And one point he made that it makes a lot of sense is that there's a lot of talk that we were this close to bankruptcy if Ineos didn't invest. Mark views it, and many United fans like him view it as he's bailed the Glazers out and it enables them to keep taking money out of the club. I also view it I saw that as a decent opinion, and I spoke to a few of my financial friends about it, and they said, yeah, but the Glazers aren't stupid business people. They would at that point have probably sold some shares and pumped that into the club to keep it solvent, because they know the value of and this is what people don't understand. Cash is king in the business, and if you run out of cash, you can go out of business very, very quickly. But it doesn't impact the value of the organization. You don't even need to be profitable for a business to be highly valued. There's sometimes two different things, and the Glazers aren't stupid. They might, for the first time ever, pump some money in to keep it solvent, but then they're not going to let a 5, 6, 7 billion pound asset they paid 0 pence for fold for 100 million pound that they can raise by selling some of their shares on the stock market that don't even have voting rights at the club. This here from Harrison Lane's interesting, and this is another, again, there's so many permutations. This is why I'm not overly judgmental. I criticize actions that I don't like, but I'm not overly judgmental. He says the Mappeteers said if Jim paid the debt without getting shares in return, the Glazers could essentially reduce the debt with that money and then take more money out of the club. That's also true. So they could do it, and we go, great, that's 60 million pound a year that we now have back. But with the way the current structure is, the Glazers could just start taking that 60 million pounds of dividends. And there's nothing that Ineos could do to stop it. So, yes, I'm not saying Ineos are perfect. I'm not saying they've done nothing wrong, but it's not just as simple as paying the debt off. There are permutations and complications in this that we don't have the information on. And until we have all the information, and again, in the end, it might turn out they're the same as the Glazers. And I'll say, fair enough. But until I can see it, until I'm shown evidence, I'm just not making that statement as of right now. Some more super chats here. The beauty of the Amorim era is that we will have video evidence of Staffy back in AVB 2.0. He deleted tweets on Ten Hag being better than Ancelotti for United.
All right, show me that tweet.
Was deleted. How can he show it to you? It's deleted.
You could see. You could still see a deleted tweet.
Use that. Can you do that? Can you use that? Was it
Yeah,
called
if there's a tweet that you previously like retweeted or something, like it's gonna say below it, it's been deleted. I used to actually, you know what? I used to actually go back and forth with this guy, and I used to respect his opinion. But if you're gonna sit here and lie about me, then you're not even gonna get a reply from me.
Also, what I would say, most people that know you've deleted a tweet, because I sometimes do that. I might tweet something during the game and it goes wrong. So I might tweet, "Oh, United are gonna win," and then we lose, right? Or we draw. People go, "Ah." Anyone who shows me a screenshot, if someone screenshots my tweets, I know they're an op, so I block them. So I often delete things to see who screenshots. Therefore, I can block them because I know they're an op. Because anyone who just screenshots your tweets randomly is a weirdo. Because why are you I mean, it's like, why are you?
Although if they know if they see the pattern though, and they know Terry says they're going to win, and we know he deletes tweets.
But the point is, I don't. I typically don't. I typically don't. The only time I delete a tweet is if I say something that is like, so the other day, I thought it was a parody account that put something out and I shared it, and then I realized it wasn't real, so I deleted it. I delete a tweet like that. But I do delete tweets, but I often delete tweets purely to work out who my ops are. I genuinely, it's like it's a little bit of fun that I sometimes have on Twitter. I'm like, I'm going to post this and I'm going to delete it if it goes wrong, and then whoever puts the screenshots in, I know is an op. It's just a bit of fun that I have. He also here says, discuss the real possibilities instead of 2006, 28 fantasies. What happens if Amorim loses versus Spurs? But we're talking about a point that was raised in a conversation today. That's why we're talking about it. We'll get onto that game in a little while, my friend, but it's a podcast, and we don't need to rush forward. Thank you, Luke, for asking everybody to hit the like button. It means a great deal. Thank you very, very much indeed. Yorkshire Man says, then stop the clickbait. Look, I don't think people that write emergency meeting are clickbaiters. I see them get accused of being clickbaiters. Not every day is an emergency. Well, it depends on their perspective. I think some Spurs fans see every day as an emergency because of how poor they're run. And it's their channel, and they can write the titles the way they want. I when it comes to the transfer stories, I write the claim that the media have put out, and then I discuss it. That's my choice. The same as someone that writes, I think it was George that did an emergency meeting the other day. I'm not going to tell him how his title should look. That's how he feels. That's how he wants to write it. I don't consider that clickbait. What I consider clickbait is George saying that he's got, revealed leaked video of Daniel Levy having an affair with another woman. And then the whole stream is about Angie's tactics. I'd say that's clickbait because it's the video, the title and the video are nothing to do with each other. But yeah, saying emergency meeting, no, not at all, not clickbait.
We need to, I think, get back to understanding what clickbait is. right? Clickbait is seen as this negative thing. Clickbait in itself is, I'm going to put a title that people want to click on, right? And that's fine. It's when it's misleading. So there's good clickbait and bad clickbait. And people just put everything under the umbrella of clickbait. Every headline, every title on a video is clickbait. I need to word this in a way that people click. The question is the content going to deliver on the title? Then that's misleading. That's bad clickbait. So that's what I think we need to understand.
Yeah, I understand. And even then, though, even then it becomes down to interpretation, because I see Lee Gunner get stick from his haters all the time about his emergency meetings. And I just think, have you Sadak's got nothing better to do than worry about the titles of somebody else's videos? And I just think that's how he sees it. That's his opinion. You get a lot of people like Rory Jennings' titles are brilliant because it'll often be sort of Big Ange sacked with a question mark. And very early on in this title, he'll say, and I'm seeing a lot of Spurs fans talk about Big Ange sacked. And he'll kind of ask a question to himself like, Big Ange sacked. I want to know what you guys think about that. So it matches his content, and people, oh no, but it misled me. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. When you've got a picture of Rory Jennings as a content creator's face going like this, you ain't thinking that's breaking news. Anyone who thinks Rory Jennings has got the scoop, you're a fucking moron.
He wouldn't put a question mark. If it was true, he wouldn't put a question mark.
Even then, right? Anyone who thinks a fan channel's got the scoop on news is a prick. You're a prick. Your opinion's worth almost nothing to me because we're fan channels. We're just reacting to things and giving opinions.
You know what's the best?
No one's been. I saw a comment the other day by someone on Twitter. I don't even know who this person is, and if I could give him an award, I would. He just said no one is misled because no one believes that fan channels have breaking news. All fan channels do the same thing. They react to news, opinions, tweets, and games. We all know what fan channels are. No one's, and I was like, that's so true. So whether it's my transfers, Rory Jennings with a shock face, Henry Wright breaking a chair, Lee Gunner in an emergency meeting, none of it is clickbait in the sense of it's misleading. You know it's a fan channel reaction and an emotion to a situation. It's as simple as that. I've never really understood the backlash from people that consume it. It's crazy.
The best slander I hear is when people say, oh yeah, this content creator just wants views. But do you think anyone ever uploaded a video in his life praying, I hope no one sees this? And then they see this views, like, no, my video got viewed. Fuck. Come on, man.
Yeah,
be a little bit smarter than that.
No, it's true. I mean, it depends how you want it, because what people do when you say that, of course I want views. It's, oh, you just want views. I don't want views for views' sake. I hope I get views that are engaging. Some that will agree with me, some that challenge what I say, because I want my opinion to be heard by people. And I'm not embarrassed to say that. It's why all of us started putting, whether it's tweets, YouTube content, TikToks, we all do it because we want our opinion or our joke or our banter to be seen and heard. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And the one thing I'd say when there's other YouTubers that call this out is I think what goes through their minds is, oh, if I can make people not watch Lee, if I can make people not watch George, if I can make people not watch Sam, I might grow. It doesn't work like that. They are performing it's like the crabs in a bucket. It's crabs in a bucket. You actually damage yourself because I saw one, like I see people that do watch-alongs call out other people that do watch-alongs going, I think they fake their reaction. I'm like, okay, so let's say we set the precedent, or you set the precedent that certain people fake their reactions on watch-alongs. Well, you create a standard that watch-along reactions aren't real and you do them. You're creating a precedent that people like you fake it. I don't think any of them do. I think it's just, it's what makes it so funny and so entertaining. But even if they were faking it, as a fellow YouTuber, I just wouldn't call it out because it would be damaging. It would be like it's like a magician revealing another magician's trick. If it was indeed fake, I'd just leave it anyway. You just leave it there. But yeah, it's a very weird industry. We're in a lot of crabs in buckets trying to pull people down. But yeah, so yeah, to that clickbait point of view, no, I don't think people that do emergency meetings are clickbait at all. So I stand by that.
But by the way, there's been a lot of chat in the comments about you guys with the Yankee hat and me without the Yankee hat. I just want to say, fuck the New York Yankees. Go Boston Red Sox. Boston Red Sox. Yeah.
Fuck you.
There we go.
I'm gonna get a Boston Red Sox hat.
Alex Goldberg. Sorry. Alex Goldberg speaks with Win Stanley and Stewart about transfers. But again, I don't necessarily consider Alex Goldberg a fan channel. I feel that, again, this is only my opinion on what I've seen, and I've never worked with him. He was always someone that when he first started was almost on that kind of professional level in terms of like when the rest of us were scrambling around with like sort of 720 webcams, this guy was doing like Patreons and had big people on there. And I think he's always had connections in one way, shape or form. So, there are certain people that I don't, AFTV have moved into this realm and DR Sports. Quite a lot of their presenters are like from a professional presenting background. That's not a dig. They've grown to a level where they've done that, and it's fair play to them. So the channel is still at heart a fan channel, as an example. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily consider him to be a fan channel. I think he is more of a Chelsea journalist, the same as Simon Phillips in the Chelsea fan base. I don't see him as a content creator. I think he is a journalist, but maybe the genres have kind of overlapped a little bit recently. But again, I might be wrong, and if I'm wrong, tell me, Tommy. But that's how I view him. I think I wouldn't put the same category as a Carefree Lewis or Don or Rory Jennings and these guys. I think that. Yeah, I thought he was different to that. But again, I'm not that close to what he does. So let us know. Let us know what you think. But yeah, on the game, before we move on to the other teams tonight, how do you think Man United will get on, Lawless, against Tottenham?
Oh, man, this it could be the game of the weekend. This really could be the game of the weekend. Two clubs, obviously, similar places in the table. I'm going to have an eye on it. I'm hoping it's a draw personally, obviously, because if we win, we can climb above you guys. But I just think right now, Spurs are too depleted. They're in a much seemingly worse run of form. Everything seems to be going against them. And I think with Ange's one way of playing, one-dimensional, gung-ho approach, I think the more tactical Amorim, I think it will play into his hands. And I think this will be a good game for Man United. And honestly, Spurs are just in a mess right now that they can't dig themselves out of. They really can't. And they just have not got the personnel to try and to do what they do. And he won't change it up. So you're going to see Highline FC, all of that stuff. The defense are an absolute shambles right now. They've got injuries up top. This is going to be probably one of the easier games, I think, for Man United. I'd go into this. There shouldn't be any excuses, really and truly.
Well, we don't play easy games. I hear why you're saying that, but we generally play easy games. So I'll take that part away. It should be an easy game based on what you said, but it won't be. I think Vicario's back. I'm seeing the chat is saying Madison and Udogi's back. I don't know about that. I was reading the news earlier today. I was on The Athletic. Vicario is back. Whether he starts him in the game or not, I don't know. Shout out to Taj Cunningham, by the way, for gifting 10 Football Terrace memberships. So if you're one of the 10 people that gifted a membership, make sure you shout them out in the chat and smash some W's for Taj in the chat. But back to the game. What I was saying is, so Vicario could be potentially back. I'm not gonna lie, that's gonna be big for them because Kinky. I was excited to face this goalkeeper because he's horrible. He is horrible. He could be good later, but for a 21-year-old goalkeeper, he's making so many mistakes. And before anyone says anything about Onana, I'm not saying Onana's good. This guy's just making mistakes galore. And he's going through a period where he just came into the team and he's young and the main goalkeeper is not there. So this pressure playing for Spurs, especially with the form that they're in, it would have been nice to face him. But I will say the biggest absence for them is that they don't have a striker up top. And I know Son could potentially play in the 9. I don't know who's going to be their front 3 or how they're going to shape up. But Solanke not being there, I know a lot of people said, oh, but didn't you lose last time to Spurs? Solanke was a big reason why they won. I think he bullied our backline very well that game. Even though there was mistakes all over the place, he was probably the best player for Spurs. And even when he doesn't chip in with GA, he's always a threat up there. He's always working hard. He's always linking up play. He does too much. And him not being there, I think it gives us a massive boost. So he's probably the biggest one of the injuries that I look at. I'm like, it benefits us. The issue is right now, I feel like the Spurs team, and I'll be really honest, I think when they play us now, because the recent results over the last few years have been in their favor most of the time, I think they kind of like get that confidence boost when they face us. They're like, yeah, we beat them already twice this season. We beat them last season. We're yet to beat an Ange Spurs. We played them 4 times so far. This is gonna be number 5. We've never beaten a Spurs team under Ange. Now, that doesn't mean anything, to be honest, because also I could give you a stat and say they haven't won a home game apparently since November 3rd. So there's so many stats that I could give you for this game that can tell you, oh yeah, United are going to win or Spurs are going to win. The one thing that I know is 100% for sure is that it's a hard game to predict. Both teams have been unpredictable because of how bad they've been. I just know someone needs to win. It cannot be a draw because I'll be honest with you, if we draw, it's a loss for both of us. A draw doesn't do much for either one of us. They need a win and we need a win. Whoever gets this win, it's a good relief. You know what I'm saying? Like, oof, my results haven't been good. I needed this win. And whoever loses, I'm not gonna lie, it just adds a lot more pressure, especially if Spurs lose. Now, I understand Amorim is gonna get a lot of stick if we don't win, especially with how poor Spurs have been. But Ainge's job is more on the line. I don't think Ruben Amorim, because of how new he is in this team, I don't think by the board by any means possible.
He said there's more pressure on him than Ange, didn't he?
So he said there's more pressure on him because he has the bigger club. But in terms of, if you ask me who has more pressure to keep their job at this moment, because of how long Ange has been losing for, I think they have 17 losses already this season. So they're in 34 games, I believe. So if I'm correct, 17 from that's 50% losing rate, right? They lost exactly half their games this season. That is a shocking rate for how long he's been there. And I understand it's the injuries and all that, but with the pressure that he has, I mean, like, look at Henry Wright. Every week he's just bullying a new chair because they're losing. You know what I'm saying? Amorim hasn't gotten us to that stage yet. He's only been here for a couple months. This loss would be worse for Ange, especially that it's at home as well.
Yeah, so Amorim was wrong. There's more pressure on Ange.
No. Let me say this again. There is more pressure when you manage Manchester United versus when you manage Spurs.
Yeah, but what we're talking about is right now, going into this game, we're doing technicalities. Overall, there's more pressure.
But this is why I need to explain the technicality.
I know what you're saying.
In a general sense,
managing a bigger club. I know what you're saying. The distinctions that you're making. No, but it's irrelevant because what we're saying going into this game right now, there's more pressure on Ange.
That's a fair claim, but that's obviously not what was spoken about in the press conference today. That's what
I'm trying to say. He didn't say I have more pressure on me today than Ange. He said, "Oh, managing Manchester United, there is more pressure than basically managing Spurs." I kind of rephrased it, but that's what he meant. But if the question to him was like, "Hey, which one of you guys is at a high risk to lose their job?" We all know it's Ange. He's been here for almost 2 years.
Yeah,
like I think that should be
just a pointless statement then because it's obvious. Like I said, he could have said that against Forest, against Wolves.
Okay, so did you watch the press, Lawless? And this is not a dig. Did you watch it?
No, I didn't. But I'm just going.
Okay, so to explain to you within the context of he was talking, they asked him what he thinks about Ange. He said, "I like Ange. I respect Ange. He tries to play football the right way. But no disrespect. Managing Manchester United, there's more pressure than managing Spurs." Yeah, that was the context of the conversation. If he was asked who's under more pressure, then what you're saying your argument would hold more water. But that wasn't how it was.
But what I'm saying is, I think that was a pointless comment to make because he could say that about nearly every team in the league.
Maybe really. I agree with you. He does have this tendency to say too much, and I think we spoke about this last Friday. He does sometimes say too much. He's clearly a person that wears his emotions on his sleeves, and I can relate to him because I'm very vocal too sometimes with how I feel. And I sit there like I probably didn't need to explain that today, but I just did it anyways because I'm too honest. That's how he is, and probably sometimes it's not a good thing. Like someone said in the chat, he probably said stuff that he doesn't need to say, and I agree with you. Sometimes you don't need to say that because no one asked you, "Hey, by the way, are you under more pressure or Ange?" He voluntarily just said, "Oh yeah, managing Manchester United, there's more pressure." Probably didn't need to say that, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Look, sorry, I was just in the middle of doing something for my accountant. Sorry, while streaming, it was an urgent thing for the.
Did you pick up Taj Cunningham?
Oh yes, yes. Taj, by the way, I want to say a big thank you to you for gifting 10 memberships to the audience. That's absolutely amazing of you. So thank you very much
Just kidding.
indeed.
We did it when you weren't here.
Oh, did you? Sorry. Literally, my accountant said I sent something through to my accountant. It was wrong. So
I showed them love already.
It had to be done by 5 p.m. today. So I was like, right, I'm streaming. We're gonna have to do something else. Look, on the game, I heard a lot of what you guys said, and yeah, it's a weird one because there's the element of it being a mid-off. I think both teams, as you say, have got to win. I think a win for Man United relieves a lot of pressure at the moment, and probably Man United want to create a little bit more of a distance between them and the bottom. Spurs, exactly the same situation, but I think with Spurs going out of both cup competitions in the last couple of weeks and the pressure that's there, like I don't think Amorim's close to being sacked. I think Ange is, so it's there. But who wins this? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to get massive splinters in my ass because I don't know. I cannot. You can make.
You've got to put yourself as the favourites, Terry. You've got to back yourself as favourites. Surely.
No, I don't. And I'll tell you as to why. So this is the thing. Our performance levels make it hard for me to ever make us favourites in any game, as an example. I would normally say, well, against the bigger sides under Amorim, we've had better performances and results, and I agree. But we've also played Spurs already this season twice and been battered by them and been beaten away from home against them as well. So that kind of factors it in there. What I would say is that we can definitely win this match. How we win it is by being hard to break down, compact. I keep seeing people say that Amorim never changes it up. This is a lie. The way he sets the team up away at Liverpool and Arsenal and City was different to how we set up at home against Crystal Palace. So the formation might be the same, but people are too focused on formations. I think it's really weird to do that in 2025. So for me, you can make a case for anyone winning the team. My point is I don't know who's going to win it. And you can say we're favourites, and I'm not going to overly disagree. Some can say Spurs are favourites, and I'm not going to disagree either. It's just a match that I genuinely don't know who's going to win. Either team could. It's going to be, and I said it last night, and I say it again, the team who makes the least mistakes wins, I think. That's what it's going to come down to. The least amount of mistakes probably wins the game.
I think if you...
And he's the most clinical within that, if that makes sense. He's going to win the match.
Yeah, I think you could really do him on the counter-attack. I think you could tear him to pieces. Again, it's going to be about being clinical. I look at what they've got up top available. Obviously, Son is probably the most clinical out of both teams, what both teams have got up top available.
Oh, he is. He definitely
right?
is.
Yeah, he's the most clinical, but it's what he's got around him to feed him and to create for him. And it's going to be like I said, I think it's going to be the most interesting game of the weekend, like the most must watch. That I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of people are saying it's a mid-off and it's a rubbish game. I actually think it's going to be a very, very entertaining game for viewers to tune into. I really, really do.
Yeah. I mean, it is a mid-off. It is a mid-off, but mid-offs can be entertaining. Like, let's be real.
Sometimes you want to see two bad teams play each other. You seen this in the League Cup. It was 4-3 because both of us were shit.
And Lawless, you know this. You're down there all the time. You exactly understand what it's.
Oh yeah.
And this is in your realm. This is your thing, bro. Do you know what I mean?
It's our realm. It's our realm now.
Our realm. That's true. That is true. But look, I'm going to be bold though. I'm going to predict a Man United win. I'm going to predict that we're going to win 3-2. And I know people are going to say that's too many goals. No, I'm going high goal scoring game. I'm going for a Man United 3-2 win at White Hart Lane.
I love when United content creators predict 3 goals every. I look at them like, where are these goals coming from? What do you guys watch that I can't see?
Bro, I totally agree, but I'm factoring in both teams being calamitous, poor, space, and I'm going for a higher goal scoring game and saying we're going to win. So. Yeah. By the way, it could also end 0-0. Like
usually them ones are, isn't it? When you think like, oh yeah, this is gonna be good end to end. It's
just the best way to approach this game is just to expect the unexpected. That's what it is. Just expect inconsistencies every game from United. And now that we face Spurs who are more inconsistent than us, it could be anything. United can win 1-0 or they can lose 4-1. It's fine.
3-2 is a good shout with their defense the way it is. I think that's a good shout.
I predict the United 1-0 every game. That's what I do. Because we're averaging slightly over 1 goal a game.
You really rate your defense, don't you, Staffy?
It's not that I rate them. I have to give a prediction. And you know what it is, Lawless? No one is ever going to get back at you and say, haha, you predicted a 1-0, you idiot. No one cares because like a 1-0 is the most basic prediction.
Well,
I can make.
I'm
2-1 is the most basic prediction.
So I'm
Everyone
doing this.
knows
Yeah.
2-1.
So I'm doing this now. Away from home, I'm kind of predicting fairly high scoring games for United. At home, I'm predicting 1-0 wins if I'm predicting us to win. But people think it's crazy. Well, we drew 2-2 at Liverpool. So we're 1 goal off the scoreline today. It was 1-1 against Arsenal, but actually, if it was 11v11, I think both teams score more goals. We scored 2 goals away at Manchester City. So if you see my point here, I feel like against a team that opens up like Spurs do, there is a genuine chance. And I don't think it's going to be like United swashbuckling, kill him. It's going to be they've scored, we've scored, they've scored, we scored. We might grab the winner.
I just
It's
don't
gonna be
see
one of
where
those
they
games.
score as well. They don't really have anything up front. Like as I said, Solanke not
Oh,
being here,
I
there's
don't
not a lot
know.
of goals. I'll be honest.
Well,
Mate,
they got-
Maybe
they
I
got
go 2-1 instead of
3-0
1-0.
then. 3-0. Let's go. 3-0 United.
There you
That'd be
go.
great.
Okay, I convinced you to change your mind.
I'm going to say 2-2. I'm going to manifest the draw. I want a draw.
That can happen. I can't disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Well,
see it happening.
Well, if I think 3-2, then I definitely think 2-2 can happen because at some point it's probably going to be, well, it's highly likely to be 2-2 at one stage. But yeah, I'm going with a last minute dagger from United, like 89th minute winner. That's how I think it's going to go. That's how I think it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of them ones. It's going to be, Ahmad or, I don't know, someone maybe a little bit out of there. Dorgu, screamer, edge of the box, puts it on his left peg, bang, top
I think
corner.
that's going to be the most interesting thing to see. I know we didn't mention that, but is he going to play Dallo again on the left, or is he going to go for Dorgo and Ahmad? Because that's the biggest criticism he got from the Leicester game, because he played Dallo on the left. And I understand why people say it. I didn't really get to touch on that. It is a bit of my concern, I'll be honest, about Amorim. So for people who think I blindly back him, no. I kind of still give my feedback while I still back him. But if he goes for Dallo and left wing back, which I think he will, and we don't win, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to expect a big backlash. Because people are going to say you have 2 left-footed wing backs who are attacking in Dorgo and Ahmad, and you still went for a defender. And to be honest, as much as I like him, it is something that raises concern for me. You can't be too idealist as a manager. Sometimes you just got to deal with the cards you're dealt. And you did sign this player. Play him there until we sign a new wing back, Kwanda, or whoever we get in the summer. You have to do something. So, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I understand that. I really, really do. Viewers, give us your score predictions. There's a few comments here I want to go to. First ones, and hopefully, by the way, English talent, we've discussed the game, so I hope that you've heard this. And at what point do you call him out? Again, I have called out his bad performances and moments, but what you need to specify for me is what you mean by. I think we do this a lot in this space. What do you mean by call him out? Because I had this conversation about Arsenal earlier on in the week when I was talking about the injury situation. I condemned the board, the manager, and the players for the situation they're in, not buying in the summer, not in January. And I had people in the comments go, Terry just never criticizes Arsenal. And I'm thinking, it clicked. I'm not saying hurty words. I've said it was an abomination of a transfer window. What you really want to hear is F this, F that, dickheads, it's not serious, fucking that. Again, I just view the word abomination as being a much stronger source of criticism, but some people just want hurty words to be used, I think.
English talent gets too much airtime here, I'll be honest. Instead of asking us, when are we going to call him out? When are you going to change your AVI from Mason Mount? How about that? That's the question that we should be asking you. Because your name is English talent, and you have an AVI of a player that hasn't been a talent for 2 years. How about you answer that for us, English talent?
There we go. This here says, Terry, why aren't you calling out Ineos? They are destroying the club. You clearly ain't a proper fan. Well, this is the thing. You're lying, or you don't watch enough content. One of those two things. So I've criticized many things that they have done. All I'm doing is not making overarching statements that they have destroyed the club. The reason I'm doing that is because it'll be really hypocritical of me come May to be celebrating an FA Cup win if it was to happen. Or in a couple of seasons' time, means, we're in a title race, I'm loving this. Whilst at the same time saying they've destroyed the club and taken the heart and soul out and the club will never be the same again, just for me to watch the football and consume it in the same way. So I'm criticizing actions, but I'm not making overarching statements and conclusions before the end. It's like if you're at school, you write your hypothesis, what you think is going to happen with the experiment, and you've got a conclusion to come at the end. Nobody writes the conclusion before the experiment and every manner of it has been undertaken. So I'm criticizing the things they do wrong. I've just decided that I'm not making a conclusion about whether they've made the club better or worse until I have more evidence. It's as simple as that, my friend. But I have certainly, unless you want to lie, criticized many of their actions. But again, maybe I didn't use strong enough hurty words for you personally. Where is Don? I was looking forward to hearing his level-headed, unbiased, reliable opinions.
Said no one ever.
He's filming a new season of Emily in Paris, or whatever that was called.
I can imagine him over there in Paris right now with his missus in a beautiful restaurant, and he's just dead up close to her saying, I told you, didn't I tell you that this restaurant was better than any other restaurant around? I told you, didn't I?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Didn't I tell you this hotel room was better than the one you looked at? I told you, didn't I?
Oh, mate.
I love him. Nah, I love Donny.
Shout out to Potts for the raid as well.
Big up yourself. Thank you, Dan Potsy. I appreciate that, bro. Appreciate that, brother. Thank you very, very much indeed, mate. That's absolute gentleman of you. Absolute gentleman. And that brings us actually nicely on to the Arsenal segment of the show.
Ooh.
We're going to be talking Chelsea as well.
Look at the smile on the Lawless's face the minute you said Arsenal. He can't wait.
You know why? Because I'm like,
I haven't seen that smile.
Because we've got an influx of Arsenal fans, and we know how just reasonable they are when we're talking about their club. We know how.
I think Potsy's view is a very, very level-headed. You know, over there at the 12th man.
Yeah, most of them. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you. They've obviously had a boost today. Ben White's back, which I think is important for them because I think being defensively resolute, defensively strong in the next 5 to 6 weeks especially is going to be very important for them. But do you think Arsenal are going to fight back? Or Lawless, do you think they may collapse from this point? How do you see Arsenal moving forward on the field of play with the Martinelli and Havertz injury adding to the already missing Jesus and Saka?
Yeah, it's interesting. First off, shout out to Selective for that comment. Why Scout recommended the restaurant for Don. Don's looking at restaurants from Why Scout.
No, that's a great comment.
That's right. I couldn't let that one go without a comment on it. But yeah, Ben White is a big coming back is a big boost defensively. But for them, I can't see them having enough to mount a serious threat to Liverpool. I think they'll still chug along and pick up enough points to probably finish second still. But it's going to be a big ask for them to, with the players that they've got out, even though, like I said, like Martinelli, Havertz haven't been at their best this season. The drop-off now between who's next is going to be a lot bigger. So, yeah, I can't see them pushing Liverpool now. Even the gaps, I know the gap, 7 points now? That's a lot bigger than it looks, you know.
So you don't rate Marino playing in the 9 being the new Fellaini, apparently. That's what I'm being told. No, I swear that's what I'm being told. I'm not giving my opinion. That's what Arsenal fans, not all of them, but some Arsenal fans have been saying. I think Egal said it on this channel yesterday as well.
Egal says a lot of things. Egal said
he's not the only one. I swear, I'm not even joking.
I saw him say that Liverpool have been lucky with injuries, and it's like, okay, but Arsenal weren't lucky with injuries for the past 2 seasons, no? And we weren't able to comment on that they were just lucky with injuries. So, and it's very interesting, actually, with these injuries. This is a little sidestep, but I've seen Postecoglou get a lot of blame for Tottenham's injuries, the frequency and the amount of injuries Spurs are getting. I'm not seeing that same blame towards Arteta.
Guess what, Lawless? 3 of their major injuries are hamstring injuries. And you know when it's hamstring injuries is because of what? It's because of conditioning. Either a player is not conditioning well, or they're just being trained too hard, or just playing too many games. Because I swear, Martinelli hamstring, Havertz hamstring. By the way, Havertz hamstring while training in Dubai. What the hell?
The magical Dubai training that just
like what happened over there? I would love to see. I need to see footage of that training. What the hell was going on? And I'm not blaming Arteta. At the end of the day, there's coaches that take care of training anyways. So I'm just saying I'd be curious to see what the hell happened in that training. But then obviously Saka, we know Saka's probably the one that I blame Arteta for the most because it's just how much he overplayed him since he was a teenager until now. But other than that, you're absolutely spot on. We talk about Postecoglou and his tactics injuring his players. Why are we not talking about Arsenal as well? because freakish injuries, I feel like some people disingenuous sometimes and they talk about injury-prone players. Sometimes the injury has nothing to do with a previous injury. Like if you had a bad calf and then the next game, someone just busted your head open and you got a concussion, I can't call you injury-prone. You just got unlucky with a freak injury compared to what used to happen to you. But you look at Arsenal, a lot of the injuries are similar right now. Why? Is there no proper rotation? Is the squad depth not enough? But regardless of all that, I mean, let's just bring it back to the original question that Terry asked. Are they going to be able to push Liverpool for the remainder of the season? I'll be honest, with the little frame, the little window that's left, which is about, 15 games, I think, until the end of the season, and the type of injuries that they have, until they got Saka and Martinelli back, which is in 5 games still, I'll be honest, I don't see how they could keep up. We talked about their struggles with Havertz, who was deemed not good enough, Martinelli, who was deemed not good enough. A lot of the players that got injured, bar Saka, obviously, a lot of players look at them and are like, we need improvements on them. Now you lost these players. So not only are these players that are not good enough are playing for you, they're actually not there. You're going to have to resort to new ideas. And I don't think the new ideas that they're going to do right now is going to help them to push for this league. I'll be honest.
Even
I'm not
with
going to
Saka,
expect a
there was
massive
a
drop
gap.
off. I just don't see how they could do it. I generally don't.
They had a full fit squad, Saka and Havertz, Martinelli, all these players, like their fullest fit squad. There was still that 8, 9,
There was still holes in that
7
front line,
gap. Yeah, they were still dropping points like on a regular basis. So to now expect without those players that they're going to find a way to push Liverpool and maybe have a chance of even winning the league, that I've seen some Arsenal fans still hold out hope for, I think that's a madness. I think that.
Let me ask you this, Lawless, then. Who are you blaming for this more? Because I see a big group blaming Arteta, a big group blaming the board and the people that were supposed to back Arteta, and obviously there's some rational people that are just blaming a multitude of people. Who do you blame?
I think there's got to be a shared amount of blame, right? Because at the end of the day, Arteta, I think, made it clear, and I don't necessarily disagree with this sentiment that I don't want just any striker. I don't want just any player. I don't want bodies in. I want players that are going to come and make it for the long term. And I kind of get that because Potter said that and I backed it. However, the difference is we're looking to next season anyway. We're not going to achieve anything this season, right? So that is a big gamble for Arteta when you're in the Champions League, it's still in the title race, and those bodies, while maybe long term they're not good enough, you're making a decision short term to say, nah, we're not going to do it for the league. Now you can blame the board if they're not stumping up the money to go and get the Oshermans or the Yokereses or even any of these to pay over the odds, right? That's where the blame is for them. If you think they should be paying over the odds for players in January, then you can blame them, right? They should put down 80 million on a player or 6 million in January. That's the only way you can blame, because I don't think they said, nah, we're not getting any players in. I just think it came down to not wanting to pay over the odds, Arteta not wanting bodies in, and now we're in that place. So they both have to get equal blame. They haven't replaced Edu, and I think that power has probably just gone to Arteta, because it seems to be Arteta and Edu partnership, and now they've not replaced him, and I think Arteta's just keeping a lot more of that power to himself. So I think anyone that's saying it's just Arteta or it's just the board, I think are just not seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah, I don't know the hierarchy. I know you want to move on there. I don't know the hierarchy, obviously, of how the decisions are being ran at that club. I'm not in the board with them, so I don't know what it is. At the end of the day, the one thing I can guarantee you, and everyone should agree on this, whether you're Arteta in or out, this is just a complete incompetence and complete failure to prepare from the board, to not be prepared in a season like this where you should be pushing for the title, to have proper reinforcement, let alone improvements that you should have gotten in January. And look at you now, obviously, when injuries happen and they're unfortunate, you know the famous saying, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. And I think that's what Arsenal from top to bottom have done this season.
Yeah, we had a saying in my first proper team I worked with at Barclays. There was a saying that one of my bosses, Paul Jardine, I hope you're well, mate, he used to have, and it was piss poor planning produces piss poor performance. Probably not allowed to say that in the bank anymore. You probably get done in the woke category. Hello, mate. You all right? I'll be out in about 10, 15 minutes, okay? All right. Oh, he's come to get his picture he gave me. It's a nice picture. There it is. Look, there you go. Go on. I'll be out in a little while, all right? Go on, big man. Be careful. So, yeah, look, the problem I have with a lot of this conversation is that it becomes really, like I've said, I've criticized the board because they should have done more in January. I think the manager should have probably pushed harder in the summer for players. And maybe if he only had the choice of being able to bring 3 in, I think now he maybe should have looked at maybe Calafiori wasn't needed. Maybe another attacker over Calafiori or Moreno now looks like a good shout. Like that's the right thing that they should have done. The problem with the conversation is that you need to use a lot of hurty words for certain Arsenal fans or rivals to say you're criticizing people. Secondly, everything becomes a little bit tribal, even within the Arsenal fan base. So it's, okay, this is a chance to have a go at KSE. So they ignore everything else. I love Arteta, though. I'll leave him alone. There are people that hate Arteta. This is my chance to ride Arteta hard here and make it all about him. Where I think there's a combination here, because I think in the summer, I'd put more blame in the summer on Arteta than I would in the January. Because in the January, he's lost Saka, he's lost Jesus. I don't think he's sitting there and saying, we are fine how we are. I think there may have been a list of players that were available. I just get the feeling that the board weren't prepared to spend what was necessary to bring in their main targets in that month. That is where I won't hold a manager accountable. Even if, but he's wasted 750 million. That's irrelevant. Your club should still be buying good players for your football club. It doesn't matter if say you go and bought Osimhen and then your manager still fouls and then he gets sacked, which is what they want these people. You're still left with a brilliant striker. That shouldn't be an issue in any way, shape, or form. Sorry, my dog's crying. Be quiet, please, Rock. So it's one of these things where, like, the conversation becomes so hard because it's driven so much with ideology and people's polarized preferences. I need the manager out, so this is a chance to ride it hard. But you have actually having a conversation about the problems. So I think there's blame right across the board for the scenario that Arsenal find themselves in. But there was an opportunity this January for over 4 weeks to spend some money and to rectify the issue. So no matter what the mistakes were from Arteta this summer or last summer with what he did or didn't buy or flops that he's bought, there was a chance to address it this window and they didn't do it. So you have to look at that. If it's my business and it's like, oh yeah, KJ made a big mistake. He hired the wrong editor. We wasted money. We missed out. But I've got the chance now to get a better editor in. I can make that decision and go, do you know what? Let's hire a better one that I found. If I don't sanction that and we just stick with the bad editor that KJ's hired, it moves away from being KJ's mistake to mine because I had the chance to rectify it. But I've gone, it's okay. We'll continue with what we've got. That's why I can't put this January directly on Arteta. I look at the board and I think to myself, use your brains, engage your brains here. For me, it's a financial decision they've made and not a footballing decision. There's no way they've looked at that squad and gone, that's good enough on a footballing level. I don't believe Arteta has looked at it and gone, that's good enough on a footballing level. I think what they have done is say, we're not prepared to pay the asking price of our targets in January. We'll wait until the summer when they're cheaper. And I think that was wrong on the Arsenal fans. The Arsenal fans have been shortchanged there. And that is what should be called out more than anything else. Yes, there's historical blame on the manager, which I agree with. But it could have been addressed in January. And I think that personally, I think that's on the board more so than anyone else. The NBA is coming to Manchester. Brilliant.
Yeah, they're signing a contract to bring NBA games to Manchester starting next season.
I'm sure what that'll be at the MEM Arena, I assume. So there we go. Which
I wonder.
I better not see any of you guys there. Anyone who told me to stick to NBA, you better not go to NBA games.
The difference is though, we don't try to change American sport culture and bring new things into it. We just enjoy it for what it is. You see, we don't say get rid of the halftime show. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You guys try to add that into our shit. That's a different stuff.
It's true.
I mean, I didn't really think about that. I was just trying to take a quick visit.
No, I'm having a dig. I'm having a dig back. But yeah, like,
I just imagine Sky TV reactions from a game in Manchester in the car park.
Oh, Can you imagine?
Imagine that. That would be
Having
amazing.
said that, though, like I was listening, I didn't realize this, that a lot of people, the coach of the Eagles, this is one thing fans should be listened to, but they were calling about a year ago, according to the commentators, they were saying a year ago, the Eagles fans were calling for their coach to be sacked.
Yeah.
And then
I've heard a lot of bad things about these Eagle fans. Apparently, they're the scumbags of the NFL.
Oh yeah. I don't like Philly. I'm sorry if anyone's from Philly. I don't like you guys.
I've heard a lot of bad things.
I don't drive into Philly. I don't associate with Philly. I don't go that side of the state at all.
That's
I stick to New York. I don't like them. I really don't like them, bro. I go to Philly. I don't like Philly.
I hear you on that, mate. I do. And Super Chat here says most Arsenal fans have an average mentality. Arsenal is more than capable of winning this season. We are very close to success. Quitters make excuses. Well, look, I don't think you'll win it. But what I will say to this, and I want to put this out as sort of the final question on Arsenal, is I don't expect, and I won't accept, just as someone that commentates on football, as a fan of football, I don't accept that Arsenal should fall off from this point and get into a close top four race. I still think they should be able to keep the pressure on. They're at 7 points at the top now. I don't think it's acceptable for them to finish the league 14, 15, 16 points behind Liverpool. And the reason I say that is I had that energy for Pep. I don't think there's an excuse for him to have fallen off as badly as they have in terms of the lack of competitiveness. Arsenal still got their keeper. They've still got their defense. They've still got their midfield. They should be hard, resolute, difficult to break down and beat. There may be some games they don't win because they don't have the firepower up front, but there's no excuse to start getting run through like we've seen with Man City as an example. So they should be able to maintain a certain level of performance. I don't think losing these attackers creates that excuse. Maybe not winning every game, but there's no excuse for them to get run through like we've seen with Man City. In my opinion,
won't get ran through with Harry. But here's the thing: like I'll just be honest. I heard people say, "Oh, but Pep won the league playing a false nine. Now Arteta needs to do the same." You could say that. I'm not gonna tell people how to think, but it would be disingenuous to pretend that season when Pep won it, it was by design to go into the season with a false nine because they knew that they're getting rid of Aguero and next season they're getting Haaland, versus a situation that's just kind of been forced on you mid-season. That's the difference. You don't prepare to play with a false nine when you didn't play with a false nine all season just because you're out of strikers. So the situation is a little bit different. He must adapt. If he adapts, he proves how big of a manager he is. But I just think the comparison.
He's one of the highest paid managers in the world for a reason.
I agree. When you pay him the money he has, then maybe that just shows that you have the belief that he could do something like that.
On the other side, if he was to win the league from this point with these injuries, I mean, it makes an argument for how good he is.
Oh, it's a legacy win.
It's a legacy win from this point as well. And that's the element that, again, if you're Arteta, that's the element that you should be embracing. You should go into it looking at, okay, there's some opportunities to change. Again, if he packs his team and plays everyone in the right positions and then tries something creative up front and they get a tune out of it for 5 or 6 weeks and then Saka and Martinelli are back and then they would go on and win the league. As you say, it's legacy building, but it's unacceptable to fall off still, in my opinion.
I agree with you. And I was going to say, since we were just talking about the Eagles, actually, it's a funny reference. It was a few years ago when the Eagles won the championship. I forgot what year it was. It wasn't too long ago. It was in like the last 5 years. Their main quarterback got injured, and a quarterback injury in football is like your star player and getting injured in this football that we're talking about. Yeah. And I remember the sub came on, and everyone just ruled out the Eagles for the rest of the season, and they ended up winning a Super Bowl with that backup against Tom Brady, who everyone knows is like, all right, he's the GOAT. And that until today, Nick Foles, like when you talk about Nick Foles, he was always a backup in the NFL, and he just made a legacy win. And until now, he's like, I go to my barber and he has a picture of Nick Foles in his barbershop because of how big that win is. That would be equivalent to it, which is losing your main guy or losing a striker, which is very important, and still going on to win the league. I don't think it will happen, but it would be 100% a legacy win.
That would be huge. I mean, it does make you question. Obviously, he sold Nketiah and he's loaned out players as well. So you got to spring into that. He did get rid of players, Arteta.
Cam is watching this on delay, but he says I'm way behind. But Paris on Valentine's, god damn, Adonis coming back broke as fuck.
To be fair, him going to Paris, isn't that like an hour?
But it's the cost. It is, but it's the cost of things over. Like if you go to the, it's like, again, it'd be fair to you, Canadian. If you went out to like like the tourist parts of London today and go and have a few drinks in a nice bar, stay in a nice hotel and have like nice dinner, nice breakfast, nice lunch tomorrow, you are dropping 700-800 quid. If you go to the tourist areas and go to the nice places, it's very expensive in all those cities. It's crazy.
That's why you never go to the touristy place. When people come to New York, especially like people that I've met on YouTube, they're like, "Oh, Stefan, come to New York," and I'm like, "Oh, where are you staying?" Their hotel was in like Times Square. I'm like, "Why would you do that?"
Yeah, no,
Mate, you could have stayed 10 minutes away
I
in the city, and you would have paid like half the price.
I was very lucky when I went to the States and Canada when I was younger. It was all through martial arts, so I stayed with people. So it was cheaper because I just had to pay for flights. But you stayed with people in real areas, and then you went out to real places. And yeah, you went to a few tourist bits, but I enjoyed going. One of the best things I ever did, I did it twice in the States in different parts, is I went with friends to watch like the local high school on a Friday play like American football. And at first I was like, again, in England, I'd never take you to watch a school play football because it'd be the only people there. But I turned up and there was like 4,000 people, and it was like there was tailgate parties, and then people. It was just, and I wasn't young at the time. I was like 18, 19 myself, and it was like being in Dawson's Creek or something for me. And it was like, wow, I felt that was a much better experience of America than going to Times Square or going and looking at the stars on the floor.
Times Square is not real life.
Exactly. So experiencing real things and meeting real people. And my friend was still, I think he was in his last year at high school, and I went, and I think I was 18. Yeah, I was 18 because we had to go out and drink. We had to go across the border because this was when I was in Canada. We had to go across the border into Quebec because you can drink in Quebec when you're 18. You can't drink in Ontario until you're 19. So we had to, where we were in Ottawa was right on the border. But yeah, I went 2 days. I went to his school with him. And I'd left school at 16 in England, but they sort of got in and went in there, and I was like, this school was amazing. Sounds weird, like when you went on holiday and you went to a school, but I just wanted to experience what school was like in North America compared to England, and it was just honestly so different but fun.
It's like the movies and that, like American Pie and all that.
It was to me. For everyone else, it was just sort of normal. And I watched the end of Cobra Kai last night, and obviously a show that I've watched since it came out, but movies I've watched since the 80s, and it was kind of nice and lovely to see it end. But there's a bit where it ends, and it reminded me of experience that I had when training out in the States, where a good group of my friends that were part of Team USA and a martial arts team called Team Paul Mitchell, they were leaving high school and they were going to college. But it was in this it was the end of the summer before they went away. And I'd never and you'll have experienced this growing up there. It was almost like suddenly this group of friends that are all in the same area, they just suddenly all dissipate and go to different parts of the country, different colleges. And I remember one of my friends who was left staying because he was a very good fighter, and he was he was training to kind of do it professionally. So he decided to take a year or two away from college and said, I'll go back later. And it was just kind of him left. And went, so all your sort of same age teammates have gone and friends. He went, yeah, most have gone to colleges and unis that are hundreds of miles away. And even in England, when people leave, they're only ever like a couple of hours on a train away. And it was a weird. So when I see that in films now, I'm like, that really happens. It isn't just like a movie and everyone separates and goes their own way. Like it genuinely happens. It's kind of interesting. So I love it. I love experiencing the real life of countries. We did it in Doha. Me and KJ stayed in like a suburban area around normal everyday people, and we both said like that was a much better. What are you hitting me for? I'll be out in 10 minutes. Out you go. All right. They want me to go out for food. So yeah, I love those. I love experiencing real life as opposed to the touristy stuff. I think it makes things much better. 100%. Speaking of real life, important game tonight for Chelsea. It's a must-win for them. Will they get that done, Lawless?
I don't have high hopes. Listen, Brighton are a tough team, but they're not the most consistent team going, so it's not impossible. But they've obviously lost Jackson, which, I mean, I saw Chelsea fans, look, you have your striker injured, it's not good. But Chelsea fans, I think, made a little bit of a bigger deal out of it than it was, because the guy is he scored like 1 in 9 or something ridiculous. Like, he's not been banging in the goals. He's a focal point still up top. But yeah, like even when they beat us, like it took some dodgy decisions, and it's just their finishing is atrocious. They had one was a goal that I believe shouldn't have stood, and it was just some scrappy goal, and the other one was an own goal, a lucky own goal with deflection. So I just don't think right now they've got the firepower to do it. I back Brighton's forwards a lot more than Chelsea's, and I think Brighton just outscored Chelsea. So
you
must win
in that position.
Hey, do you know what? Nkuku, he's his goal scoring record compared to Jackson has been a lot better. Like he seems to have, like, when I actually saw the stats, I was quite surprised, like the amount of goals he scored. It's something ridiculous.
Isn't most of them Conference League? I actually don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I think they was doing prop. Like
stats with Chelsea this season can be very deceiving because they fielded a complete different squad every year.
It was like 13 goals in 14 games or something. I was like, what? Like, but that's probably, now you say it's Conference League, Conference League tax. So yeah, man. I don't think they're gonna do it, man. I don't back them. I back Brighton in this. There'll be a draw. I think is where they're capped at. I'd be very surprised if they come away with a win. And top four is going to be looking like slipping through their fingers.
Yeah, listen, it's interesting, bro, because we were just talking last week about the lack of goals that they have, and very similar to Arsenal. We're talking about them needing improvements up front, and now the front line that we didn't deem that good. Now they lost an extra player there, so it gets even worse from here. Because now they have to play a front line of, I don't know, Madueke, Palmer, Sancho, and Nkunku, or maybe Neto. And I'm not gonna lie, other than Palmer, no one in that front line is screaming goals to me. You know, they just lose to Brighton a week ago in the cup as well.
Yeah,
so
in the cup.
Yeah, so I always hate these back-to-back games against the same team. You never end up winning both. It could always be a recipe for disaster. But yeah, man, listen, they're a bit shaky right now. Maresca's coming out saying stuff that is pissing off people about not being ready, apparently, to what was he saying? I swear he just made a statement about that they're not ready to compete for the league or compete for top, something like that.
Because they're not ready to compete for top four, or they shouldn't be favorites.
Yeah, I forgot what he said, but it was something in that ilk. And it's pissing off a lot of people. I mean,
and they just loaned out João Felix as well. I just realized that.
Yeah, I saw this tweet from Fat. Have you guys ever spoke to Chelsea fan Fats?
Fats, no.
Yeah.
He's a really good guy. He tweeted this. He had loads of screenshots from different points over the last 12 months. But he says, so we've got Maresca saying top four wasn't a target. Stuart saying Champions League is a must. Kukurea saying top four is non-negotiable. Does anyone at Chelsea is anyone at Chelsea in the same meetings? And I think that Chelsea fans will 110% feel sort of lied to, maybe frustrated, confused, a number of these emotions, because the messaging seems to change all the time, and it's always worrying. If that, like Man United right now, we're saying we're aiming to try and win the league in 2008, 2028 as an example. Now, if we suddenly get to like 2026 and they're like, yeah, we're extending it now to 2030, we're extending it to 2031, your faith starts to dip. When your faith dips, you start to get more frustrated at results. You have less patience for managers, less patience for players. And there's a lot of Chelsea fans that think that if they don't make the Champions League this year, there's a possibility that they sell and cash in on Palmer in the summer. So I think that's a bad end result for them. But there's a lot of pressure on them right now. And a bit like what Amorim says, and I think, keep the same energy for Chelsea. Winning is so important for them at the minute. Getting in to that Champions League football, improving this, not losing anyone, and improving this good squad going into the summer. But there's a lot of question marks right now. And I think people are starting to worry about Maresca. Is that second half of the season collapse a problem? Or was it just because last year it was seen as, well, they were clear, it was an anomaly, but
it's not even a collapse there. I'll be honest. He's just not a good manager.
You think?
He's just not a good manager. I'll be honest. Like, there's so many games where I watch, and Footy Judge Mo, shout out Mo, he said it best. There's a say that we have in Egypt. The players win you the first half, the manager wins you the second half. Which means basically you can start the game in any way. You put it on the players in the first half, but the adjustments of a good manager, they show you how you can win a game in the second half. And I always look at Maresca, and I don't think he does much to win a game in the second half. There is games, don't get me wrong, where I feel like they play good in large majorities. And I'm like, you know what? Today with a better striker, they probably should have won. They wasted a lot of chances. It's not on the manager. But this is just too often. I feel like the other manager, especially like the last game against Brighton, I keep forgetting their manager's name. The young manager is like 31, 32.
Yeah.
Every time I feel like someone just makes a move on Chelsea and switches up the tactics a little bit, I just don't feel like there's a response for this manager. I don't feel like he tweaks the system. He makes any adjustments where I'm like, oh yeah, he's getting the best out of this player right now. This is a squad that we've seen you in the beginning of the season actually play very well with. So you showed us that with the players that you have, you can actually do something. When it's not going well, what are you doing to change it? And that's my issue. And I know some people might sit here and try to take a dig and be like, oh, but you're not saying the same thing as Amorim as an example and bring United into this. I haven't seen Amorim play at the high level with these players like Maresca did. So Maresca already showed me that these players are better than where he has them right now. There is proof. We've all seen it. We cannot dispute something that our eyes have already seen. It's just since the drop-off, I haven't seen any reaction. I look at the tactics and I look at the in-game management. He doesn't strike me as a good manager. Pep with the worst City team I've seen ever, who is getting done every week by pace and power in the midfield, just one long ball, which is something that Pep doesn't do, and he absolutely smashed them off the park that day. So I just look at it and I'm like, I don't think he's that good of a manager. But equally, and Lawless, if you want to chime in on this, if they fire Maresca, is also a horrible decision. Because I'm looking at it, I'm like, how many managers are you going to fire in a row until you get some consistency? So it's like, I'm kind of at an agreement with the people that are saying Maresca's not good enough. But I'm also looking at it and I'm like, fuck, you're going to sack another manager for this young squad? Still no consistency? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a loss, honestly, situation for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's no point sacking him for the sake of sacking him. Like, if there is someone out there that you can say, yeah, that's a guaranteed manager. That's a top quality manager. Like, say this is a complete hypothetical, but say you could get Klopp, right? I don't think you'd go Chelsea, but if you could get
a win
Klopp,
now manager, I know what you mean.
Yeah, like an elite level manager, you would sack Maresca for that type of manager. There's no point just sacking him because the results ain't good enough. You've made your bed, stick to it. There's been so much change and upheaval. Criticize Maresca, and I think he deserves criticism.
No, but I think let me counter you before you finish, though. Let me counter you. Here's the thing, and I was having this conversation earlier today. If you sack Maresca and you sign a hypothetical, like you said, let's not use Klopp so people don't say we're just being deluded. Let's just say about a win-now manager, okay? You sign a win-now manager, what is the guarantees that this board and the sporting directors are going to recruit ready-now players for him? Because I can equally say, as much as I don't rate Maresca, I do know that results would have been better with a natural 9 as an example. I think they're struggling because they don't have a natural 9 in this lineup right now, or with a better goalkeeper. Some of the recruitment that we've seen for them in January just showed us what we already know about them. They look more for the future profiles. The fact that on deadline day they were still linked with Matisse Tell and Garnacho, when everyone knows they need a striker to come in right now and help what's his name out, Nico Jackson. What is the proof that if they get, as you said, by a win now manager like Klopp, they wouldn't be like, oh yeah, listen, even if you're win now, we still want to recruit these type of players that are going to be good in a couple years.
Or it could be a project manager with an actual track record of building projects, because Maresca, he's just got Leicester and he got him promoted, but as a lot of people point out, he needed
because they weren't patient with Poch and they weren't patient with what's his name, Graham Potter. So I have proof as well. That's what I'm saying, Lowe's. I have proof. The Fatura tweet would be perfect for us to revisit right now. Do these guys sit in the same board? Because I could say this on the type of recruitment and the type of vision that they have. You know what I'm saying? You're going for future managers, but you don't give them enough leeway to mess up and clean their own mess. Yet you're also not recruiting now players for me to say, hey, get a win now manager. It's a total mess. Everything's all over the
culture of Chelsea that's been fostered since the Abramovich days. Like the fan base, club, they're just so used to that. It's not working, sack, move. Like, and that's
what do you make of what Ronan says here? He says clearly in fourth with the bottle jobs on luck.
Who's the bottle jobs? Did you say the word bottle jobs today, Lawless? I didn't hear you say it.
No, wait. So what? So what is he saying? Chelsea are the bottle jobs?
Yeah, he's being sarcastic, saying, "Well, yeah, you guys are basically saying we're really bad manager, collapse second half of the season, bottle jobs." I think he's praised for it, but yet they're fourth in the league, and sort of he feels that Chelsea are getting too much criticism for a team.
They're not there on luck; they're there on merit, and I'm saying that they was very good. However, if they miss out on top 4. If they miss out on Champions League, they will be bottle jobs, because at one point we was talking about them potentially being title challengers. They was up there second in the league right before Christmas time. We was looking at them like that. And if they go from there to finishing outside the top 4, top 5, whatever, it's not getting Champions League, they're bottle jobs. You cannot say it any other way.
The two things can be right at the same time. I understand why Rona is saying that. If they're fourth, but their form has been just up and down, and you guys couldn't see my hand, but if it's up and down, that's fine. The issue is they want I was just doing the other hand and no one saw what I was trying to do. If you start the season like this, and then it's just been like that. And that's the issue. If you start the season slow and you've been improving, and that start of the season form you're having right now, people will say you're fourth, but you're improving. You're fourth and you're regressing, in my opinion. And that's when it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
And that's why we're calling out. It's not about just being bottle jobs and being fourth. Because made this argument last week. Rodri and all these injuries don't happen in City. One of these guys is out of top 4, and it's you because you're sitting in fourth. So you're there on a little bit of luck as well. You can't look at it that way.
What's your prediction for tonight's game? What we saying, boys? What's your score prediction?
Are they away or home or away?
They're away. They're away again. Away.
I'm gonna say 2-0 Brighton.
Yeah, bro. I don't know. I think Brighton win this, probably 2-1 or something. I just don't see Chelsea scoring a lot of goals. I don't know.
I'm going 2-1 to Chelsea just because they lost the other day, and I just don't think they're going to do it 2 games running. I think they'll win. I think they'll win 2-1 tonight, Chelsea. All that being said, I think they're going to win 2-1. A comment here says thoughts on Spurs being sold by that Qatari, being sold to that Qatari family.
Is this the same one that was supposed to be buying Man United?
Sheikh Jassim?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's. You've got to remember that. Oh, listen, my personal belief is although they'll be set up in different entities and guises, it's just owned by the Qatari royal family. There's talk about them pulling out PSG, and they're saying because they're getting too much scrutiny and media attention, you're going to get 10 times more if you come to the Premier League. But maybe that's a reason why they're going to pull out a PSG because they want a Premier League side. But yes, if Spurs get them, I mean, the Spurs are in a different situation to Man United. They don't have the debts. They don't have the financial difficulties. If people with that kind of money going to there, with the sponsors they could land for Tottenham won't have the same issues as Newcastle when it comes to like market value because they're already in the top 7 teams for turnover in the world. Spurs could be in serious business. The caveat to it all that I've read is that Daniel Levy would negotiate still running the football club. And if Daniel Levy's still running the football club, that could be a problem. But yeah, if they get them, it could be amazing for Tottenham. This here from Josh is, what football moment would you like to change?
2006 FA Cup final, Steven Gerrard.
Yeah.
Mine's
that era. Mine would be the Paul Scholes' goal counting against Porto, so we knocked them out in 2003, because that would have meant that Jose didn't win the Champions League. He wouldn't have become Chelsea manager. They wouldn't have won back-to-back league titles. It changes. Do you know what I'd love someone to create? Maybe AI can do this one day. Is like alternative football universes as like a show where imagine Paul Scholes' goal counts and Porto don't win the Champions League, and then looking at what happens with Jose Chelsea. I'd love to it could have been so different. It could have changed a lot of things if that goal didn't happen. Plus, I think Man United go on to win the Champions League that year as well. Again, that can change history. So if that'd be the one football moment I would change, is that Paul Scholes goal counting.
You know what, Joshua, that's probably the best super chat I've ever seen on YouTube. Because for a minute now, see when I was sitting like this, I'm thinking and I'm overthinking. And I'm thinking of all the moves that I could change because this is a lot. I will say, though, Ronaldo not leaving in 2009. Because I think if Ronaldo doesn't leave, we win the Champions League. Actually, maybe we wouldn't win the Champions League, but we wouldn't be as bad as, because that's how it all started going.
We would have done a 4-peat. We only missed out by 1 point that year. With Ronaldo, I think we win at least 2 more points that season.
Because we got a Champions League final just 2 seasons after again.
Yeah, I think if Ronaldo had have stayed, there's a chance between then and 2013 that we win another Champions League. There's no doubt, because we got to another final. We got some latter stages. We also, you got to think as well. I'll make a bold statement. We missed out to Chelsea by 1 point, and then 2 years later we missed out to City on goal difference. If Ronaldo stays, there is the distinct possibility that we've done a 4-5. We could have won 6 or 7 in the bounce. Like, we were so close to doing it points wise. Because you look at those seasons, we did a 3-peat and then missed out by a point. Then we won it and missed out on goal difference. Then we won it again. Ronaldo stays, we could have won all of those Premier Leagues. So,
and then would Man United fans be claiming, "Oh, it's a Bundesliga, it's the Bundesliga"? That's what I would love to know. But Ronaldo would have definitely left when Moyes come in and Fergie left. Like,
The thing is,
Fergie wasn't gonna leave if we signed Ronaldo and Bale that season.
The thing is, though,
you don't remember that because we almost signed Ronaldo again, and we almost signed Bale. And when Bale went to Madrid and Ronaldo stayed, he retired.
Yeah.
Do you know what's interesting for me though? That's why I don't call the Premier League the Bundesliga, because City are dominating, because that would undo that would again, this is what I always say about it. That would set a precedent that when a team dominates the league, it's because the league is of lower quality. Well, Man United dominated for 2 decades. Why would I push that narrative? It damages my fucking football club. That's where football fans are dumb. To hurt a club, they end up hurting their own team. Moron. I told you, toaster people. Fucking toaster people.
Honorable mention, by the way, the Aguero goal.
Oh yeah, I'd love that. I'd love that scratched away.
That'd be great. Away goal we have.
Also, another one for me: West Ham away, 1995. I mean, that was painful. I still don't know how we didn't score in that game. We go back and watch it. It is mad how we didn't score more in that game. But there we go. Gents, I want to thank you all for coming on. I want to thank our super chatters. This video is going to redirect you to Staffy's stream, so go and check that out now. Go and support my bro over there. We're back live at full time after Brighton versus Chelsea. But Staffy, Potsy, thank you very much indeed.
Potsy?
I've been to Turkey.
Lawless. Turkey, thank you all. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon.